And then just a little bit about Nicole and Claire. First of all, I think it's interesting that, you know, in the beginning we see that their whole like plan for the principal to try to save the school was by kind of like giving him the information about all the sketchy stuff that Dr. Hunter Price was doing with like Claire's stepdad and everything. And I just thought it was funny when they're trying to like, you know, tell him what to say and everything, and he's just like so nervous and, you know, messing up. And I just want to say too, like, I think the principal was like very funny this season. Like, obviously we didn't see him that much, but like when we did, like, I just thought he always was just very funny. And like, especially in the 4th episode when he's like chasing them around and, you know, he's like drinking Pepto-Bismol and everything. And then obviously, you know, we see Nicole and Claire actually getting up there and speaking and showing the receipts and everything. And, you know, I just thought it was really cool to see them go that far. And especially, I mean, you know, we always knew that Claire is very assertive and everything, but, you know, I just love that for her. I love that she, you know, will just go up and say anything, and, you know, she doesn't even care that her stepdad is like right there. And then a little bit kind of having to do with like Mr. Martin and Ralph and everything. So obviously we see when Mr. Martin is talking to Ralph that we find out that like Ralph is the reason that they would be like sent to different places, like when they would go in that water. Which, like, you know, it's still kind of confusing because obviously we don't really know like the full explanation, like why can he do this, how does he have this power, whatever, you know. But we do at least get kind of the explanation that it seems to be that Ralph for some reason can like know when someone's gonna die at the school, and so he is trying to like have people warn, or like try to warn people that it's about to happen, or try to like at least have someone like there for them to like comfort them, like Mr. Martin or whatever. So like that's why like he was in front of the bus stop, because Ralph knew that the bus crash was gonna happen, so he kind of wanted Mr. Martin to either, I guess, try to stop it, or to like kind of like at least like be there for the bus crash students, like when they, you know, had to come to the ghost world for the first time, kind of like how he comforted Rhonda when she got there for the first time with Janet. And then like the reason why he kept sending everyone to the library is because he knew that the whole fire thing was going to be happening right below the library at the town hall meeting, so he was once again trying to get them to like warn them or something, which obviously is what they end up doing. But yeah, I don't know. So I thought this was like cool. Like I was happy that we got like kind of an explanation for that, but I was still just like a little confused by it, because yeah, it's still just very like, why does he have that power? Like why does he know when people are gonna die? And also we still don't really get like what that whole water pool was, and like why there were like hands coming out of it and stuff. Like I don't know if that was, or okay, I guess those were the kids, because then later after they get freed, there are no hands in it, it's just the water. So I guess I answered that for myself. But yeah, I don't know. That's still just like a little confusing to me, but I don't know. At this point there's just so much happening. I feel like you can't even like go full depth into everything. But yeah, and I'm still just very curious about Ralph. Like, why does he not speak? Like, same thing with the pastor. Why does he look different? Like, why does he have this like ghostly, like he actually looks like a stereotypical ghost, whereas like the other ghosts don't, you know what I mean? Like, I just want to know, but I don't know. I'm guessing like he just looks like that because he's like been there for so long. Like, I don't even know. But yeah. And then obviously we see when the fire is like affecting them and like everything's like shaking and stuff, that some like wood board or something comes down and smacks the pastor in the head, and then that actually kills him. So then when they're in the forest, they see that he is on the other side of the river with the kids. Like, he's finally with the kids again, and like, you know, he's happy and he looks like more normal. Okay, first of all, don't mind my change of outfit and everything. I did have to split up the filming of this. But anyway, talking about Dave again. So, first of all, it was so crazy to see, like, Sandra rushed to the hospital and, like, knowing that Dave was there. Obviously, she couldn't see him, but, like, knowing he was there, like, this is her husband that she lost. And, like, it was just so, like, emotional, even though they couldn't see each other. And well, he could see her, but she couldn't see him. um and I also just want to say, like, obviously it was also crazy because then in this episode, like, Nicole, like, all the friends found out that Sandra knew the truth too, so they no longer had to, like, you know lie to her, like, make up things. And then obviously it's interesting because we see when Dave is trying to think of how he can save Maddie, he is like, I know how to do it. And, like, he goes through his scar, so we kind of see his scar, not like fully, but we see it for like 2 seconds. And obviously we see that it, like, even though it's a room in the hospital, the scar makes it look like it's like his house. And, like, there's like a young Maddie sitting there at the dollhouse. So obviously we don't see the full thing, but I assume, probably has something to do with just, like, being apart from Maddie and Sandra and feeling like, he, like, almost, like, let them down, or, like, is abandoning them, even though obviously wasn't his choice. He died, but, so that was sad, even though we only saw it for a split second. But then we see that, like, so he has seen his door before, so he goes through, and that's how he gets to the whole forest place as well. But I thought it was so sweet because as soon as he started doing, like, saying, like, oh, I know how to get her, I was like, oh my god, this is perfect, because in the scene where he gave Maddie the compass necklace, like the flashback, he says to her, like, it's a compass, like, you can find your way, so I'll always be able to find you. And so I just thought it was so sweet that this is, like, literally him doing that, like, even in the most extreme circumstance of them literally being dimensions apart, like, literally coming and finding her. And then he says, like, I'm here to take you home. And, like, like, it was just so emotional seeing that. And once again, I mean, I already talked about it, but, like, them hugging and seeing each other again, like, it was just so good. But once again, I'm still a little confused how Dave just, like, knew where Maddie's door was. Or no, I guess it was it his door that she went through? Because his door also looked like their house. So now that I think about it, maybe it was his. But it's still kind of confusing why he was able to, like, know where his door was so easily, even though, like, Janet and Dawn, like, have said that they have not been able to find theirs and they've just been, like, wandering around. So I don't know, that's a little confusing to me, but I don't know. But obviously I'm happy that he came to save the day. So obviously now I'm going to talk about Dr. Hunter Price / Van Height, because obviously we figure out in this episode that Van Height at some point snatched Dr. Hunter Price's body. Now, I want to hear your guys' thoughts, because I've seen very mixed, like, thoughts about when he took over her body, because we still don't know. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but I don't know, I'm just curious, because obviously it could have been, like, when, right after, he shot himself in the leg as KC, and then, because we know that Dr. Hunter Price, like, was around there, and so he could have snatched her body then, or I feel like it could have been, like, in the hospital, like, when she had that huge freak out. I know we thought, like, oh, that was probably Van Height, but, like, maybe that really was her, and then that was when he took her body, because she was in this, like, emotional, heightened state. Because I remember at the end of that episode, we saw the nurse looking, and, like, the hospital scar door was open again, so I feel like that was, like, hinting that he, came to the hospital to, like, take someone's body again. So I don't know, but I just want to hear people's thoughts. And obviously we see she's kind of, like, he's, like, freaking out at the town hall meeting and everything, and then he storms off and he starts setting the fire, which is crazy. And once again, I kind of talked about this, but, like, we got to see Jennifer Tilly finally having, like, her big moment where she got to, like, be really crazy, like, through the hallways and everything as Van Height. And then, we see him, like, talking to Maddie and Xavier, and he's just, like, insane and, like, so creepy, and he's like, you know, I want this school burned to the ground because, like, this school is just a reminder that I failed and, like, I didn't get the land, you know, back in 1812. And, you know, he's like, I will, like, nothing can stop me. I'm, like, you know, I've been going through this. I've been hopping bodies, whatever, for centuries. Like, I'm not gonna back down now. And he says then, he's like, I will go after the people you love the most, whatever. So obviously then we do see that, because at the end we realize that he went into Sandra's body at some point, which is obviously very scary. And yeah, a lot of feelings about that. Yeah, so that's another thing where I'm trying to figure out when he, I mean, I guess, like, I'm assuming that means that then Sandra's spirit is going to be in the hospital, because I think that was the last place we saw her. I don't think she went to the school, unless they just, like, didn't show it. Because I remember her saying to Maddie, like, go do what you have to do, but, like, be careful. And she was, like, in the hospital. So I'm assuming that when he, you know, when his spirit was, like, kicked out of Dr. Price's body, that he, once again, did his weird thing where he can, like, transport into the hospital and then, like, took Sandra's body. So I'm assuming her body's gonna be stuck at the hospital, which would also kind of make sense, because if Dave is able to get back, you know, into the hospital from the forest, then they'll be able to see each other, which would obviously be insane. And then just two little other things. I mean, you know, I did think it was interesting that we kind of got almost a little Livia redemption, kind of, because, you know, she saw Maddie just, like, wandering outside, and she saw that she was in this weird state, and she took her in the car, she brought her to the hospital, she told Nicole, and then Xavier came, and then when she's, like, about to leave, he's like, thank you, and she's like, you don't have to thank me, it was the right thing to do. And he's like, and she's like, no matter what you may think about me, like, I do care about that. So I don't know, little redemption from her, I guess. I mean, we also kind of saw that in, because, like, the previous episode, like, when her mom, or Van High, I guess we don't really know who it was, but when they, like, freaked out, you know, she kind of looked at her mom and she was very, like, what the heck? Like, that was the first time we've ever seen her kind of, like, stand up to her mom and be like, no, I'm not going with you, like, what are you doing, you know? So I feel like that kind of was, like, a moment for her where she kind of, like, woke up a little bit or something, and, like, kind of realized she didn't want to, like, be like her mom or whatever. So maybe that was supposed to kind of be, like, why she kind of changed in the last episode, but I don't know. I also just thought it was funny at the very end when, after, like, you know, the fire happens and everything, and then we see the principal, and he's like, maybe they should just tear it down. And now I'm going to give my little review of the episode. So I give this episode a 9.9999 out of 10, because I did think it was really good. Like, I really enjoyed it, especially when I rewatched it, like, to take notes for this video. Like, I just, like, could appreciate it even more. I was just like, wow, like, just, like, so much happens in it. Like, it does, like, obviously not all the questions were answered, because, you know, you have to keep some things still up in the air for the future, but they did answer, like, a lot of the questions. And I also thought the main thing that I liked about it was, I feel like they really, like, incorporated elements from every episode. Like, they took, like, all the, like, subplots, or, like, little things that we kept finding out throughout the season, and they incorporated, like, all of it into the finale. So it felt really, like, rewarding, because it was like, oh, all those things weren't for nothing. Like, they actually had, like, a purpose in the end. Because, for example, like, you know, like, Yuri figuring out how to keep things from resetting, that ended up helping them put out the fire. The whole thing of them getting sucked into the library helped them tell everyone that there was a fire. They talked to Ralph, kind of, the pastor got, you know, his piece finally. Like, they kind of wrapped up, like, everything that they sprinkled through the season. So I just thought that was really good, because I hate when in a show when, like, there's just, like, all these little things that happen and they never really, like, end up doing much, like, by the finale. So I just thought that was really good. And I said, obviously, it was also very emotional, as this show usually is, but, you know, like, I literally think the scene, you know, of, like, Maddie and her dad, like, hugging, like, I think that was, like, one of the best scenes, like, I've ever seen in this show. Okay, I said the only thing I didn't like too much about this episode, and I don't know how people are gonna feel about it. Like, I feel like there's like mixed opinions, so like leave your thoughts in the comments. Once again, I feel like I liked like everything that happened. I loved like the ghosts, you know, being able to leave the school at the end. Like, you know, I love that. Like, I loved everything that happened. The only thing that I'm not super crazy about is Van Height being in Sandra, which I know is like sounds crazy because that's like one of the biggest things that happened at the end, but I don't know, I'm just having mixed feelings about it. I mean, you know, I feel like I can't say a full opinion yet because, you know, I don't know what they're gonna do with it, and, you know, maybe, you know, when I actually see what they do with it, like, I'll love it or whatever. But I don't know, I'm just like I don't totally hate it. I'm just like feeling a little like I don't know how to feel about this. And I don't know, it's not just because I'm like, oh, because like I feel bad for Sandra. I'm kind of just like, is it gonna get like old, like this whole like Van Height like taking people's bodies things? Because like at this point, like he's literally taken, like he took Ralph's body, Kyle's body, Dr. Hunter Price's body, now Sandra. Like, is it just gonna feel a little like overdone? And I'm also just scared that it's just gonna feel very repetitive of like, now they have to get Sandra back. Like, we just got Simon back and now it's like Sandra. And I mean, I get it, like that is the show, is like, you know, possession and ghosts and stuff, but I don't know, I'm just scared that it's gonna get a little too like repetitive or something. And I also just like don't understand, I mean, I know Van Height is just like a bad guy, but like what is he gonna do in Sandra's body? Like, I feel like at least Dr. Hunter Price, she had more like power and stuff, but like Sandra doesn't have any power. Like, she's kind of the opposite. Like, she's this person that's been this like alcoholic and like not doing very well and stuff. Like, what is he gonna do with her body? You know what I mean? But I did see someone say this, and this kind of gave me like more hope for it, which was that they were saying, or actually no, it was actually the creators, because they did like a little, you know, interview, and I read it, and they said like, you know, I think we're definitely trying to explore with the whole Sandra thing, like we'll be able to explore more about like Sandra and Maddie's relationship, and like, because obviously if Sandra goes through this, then she will literally be able to completely understand what Maddie went through, and that could kind of like bond them closer finally. And like, I don't know, so like that would be really cool if, you know, like I could see that maybe having, you know, Sandra be possessed is kind of like a way for them to like explore more of that. So I definitely would, like, if that is the case, like I definitely, like, I feel better about that plot line. I definitely think, because that would also make sense with, because, you know, the two big things that they're hinting at a next season is like, you know, the ghost being able to leave the school, and Sandra, you know, Van Height being in Sandra. So it's like, both of those plot lines would really, like, I think the overall like big theme of the next season would be like I know we kind of have, but like really delving deep into like all the characters' like families and stuff, and like really delving into their relationships and kind of like mending a lot of those, because like with the ghosts being able to leave the school, they can like visit their family and stuff. Even if their family can't see them, like we could still like see them, and, you know, they can like reflect more on it, and like we can learn more about that. And then obviously, like I just said, like the whole Sandra thing could make Maddie and Sandra like connect more and stuff. So I do think that would make sense. Like, it would give this really big like theme of the next season of like families and mending like family relationships and stuff. And then I just said, so the highlights of the episode, seeing Dawn and Janet again, definitely. I miss them so much, especially Dawn. The Wally flashback, of course, and, you know, him getting to hug Maddie again and everything. Like I said, Sandra sensing Dave's presence. Maddie and Simon's flashback was really cool. Charlie and Yuri getting to kind of have their like savior moment, especially since, and I hate to say this, I feel like Charlie and Yuri like didn't do that much this season, and it makes me really upset because like I love them, but they were kind of just like fighting the whole time, and I was like, so it was nice that they actually got to like do something useful by the end of this episode. And like I said, Quinn and Rhonda being seen by everyone was crazy. Dave and Maddie hugging, like I said, probably the best scene one of the best scenes in this show. And of course the boundary being broken. And sadly, we're finally at the final part of this video, which is I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of my favorite like editing and cinematography moments of the episode. So first I just want to say I just loved the look of the forest. Like I just thought the way it was shot was like so pretty. Like I felt like I was looking at like a painting like every time they, you know, it was a scene where they were in the forest. And you know, it definitely looked creepy, but I feel like it had this like good balance of looking like creepy but also kind of peaceful at the same time. Like it obviously wasn't like this dark like forest that was like pitch black and like really scary, but it also wasn't like a beautiful like garden type of thing. Like it was kind of like this good like in between balance, which kind of kept that like what is this like type of vibe. And then I just said I really liked the cinematography in like Wally's flashback. Like I liked the way that I think they kind of like turned the saturation up like in those clips, because everything seemed like brighter, because you know I think it was trying to show like, you know, he's reliving like some of his greatest memories, so it's very like bright and happy, and you know, it's the 80s, so everything was like bright and colorful and you know, and yeah, I don't know, I just thought it was really like nice the way they shot it. And I specifically really liked like in that, and then also in Maddie and Simon's flashback, where like, you know, once like they could kind of see the people trying to like in the ghost world trying to tell them like to get out of it. Like, you know, we see like Dawn and Maddie's like kind of like popping up in the background, and Wally can see them in the mirror. I just thought that was cool the way they did that, especially in the Maddie and Simon one, where like it's kind of like from the perspective of this like window, and you can like kind of see Wally like trying to get through the Maddie, and he's kind of like shadowy and stuff, you know. I just thought that was cool. One of the things I love the most about this show is like the fall vibes, because I love fall so much. That is a thing I do kind of wish the show could come out in fall, because it would just like be even more like vibey, but I still just love the look of it. So I love when Maddie and Wally like hugged again, and like the way it like went in slow-mo, and then you could see like as they're hugging like all these leaves like fall around them, and it's like so pretty, and I just thought that was so cool. And then also when Maddie and Simon are finally like hanging out at the end, and I don't know, you just see like all these pretty fall foliage around them, and like leaves on the ground, and I just like thought the town looked really cute in that clip, especially because, you know, I feel like we haven't gotten to see much of the actual town to Split River, obviously, because we're usually stuck in the school, or, you know, we just occasionally see Maddie's house or like the police station or whatever, but that's kind of it. Like we don't really get to see many locations, so I just thought it was kind of cool that we got to like see more of like the town. So that is it for this video. Sadly, I can't believe that's the last actual episode that I'm talking about, although once again I will be doing a video soon kind of just like giving my thoughts on the season overall, so definitely stay tuned for that, and definitely once again leave your thoughts down below, because I just think, you know, so much has happened in this season, and it's just like I just want to hear what everyone thought. So yeah, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.